This video contains graphic imagery and concepts that may be disturbing to a particular group of people. Viewer discretion is advised. Non-transforming Transformers.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass.
Yes, I know it's blasphemous for a franchise that's literally called the Transformers to have non-transforming action figures, but I think as long as those figures can make up for that with improving other aspects that make up an action figure, alrighty, non-transforming Transformers do have a place in the toy market. Also, it's been a thing since the 80s with the Action Masters. Deal with it. And in this instance, I definitely prefer the non-transforming figure over the actual Transformer. What? Greetings, people of YouTube, I'm Screaming Star, and in this video I'll be reviewing the Transformers Yolopark Rise of the Beasts AMK SCOURGE. So the Studio Series Leader Class Scourge is expensive, I'll start off with that, and it's also based on concept art, thus it really wasn't going to be 100% movie accurate in the first place, so I get it. This figure is much more affordable than the Studio Series offering, and is way more movie accurate. I'm not gonna bore you with explaining what the Yolopark AMK series is. They're basically semi-pre-built and pre-painted model kits of characters from, well, Transformers, mostly Rise of the Beasts for now. This particular model kit represents Scourge, who was the main villain of the Rise of the Beasts movie. Sure, he doesn't transform, but I was still pretty excited for him. And to make up for the lack of transformation, you will have to build this thing out of the box, kind of like a model kit. Who knew? And here's Scourge completely built, and this thing is glorious. Throughout this build, there are little R's and L's underneath these pieces to further guide you with their placements, so I suggest keeping that in mind. The build process wasn't as involved as, say, a Gunpla kit, but as I said, these are pre-painted and pre-built pieces, so that's completely understandable. Though he is painted, he's still a model kit, so you're still a little obligated to paint him yourself. I'll talk about the paint later. Now let's check out his accessories. You get this blade, a claw arm, a cannon arm, and a pair of interchangeable faces. The sculpting on this blade looks very swish, but while the paint is good, I do wish for them to have given this some orange highlights to replicate the flaming look in the film, but again, this is a model kit. If you're really desperate, you can just paint it yourself. Goes into his right forearm nicely, and this looks incredibly badass. And due to his articulated fingers, you can make him manually hold the blade. Not too shabby, not too shabby. But his most memorable weapon is definitely the claw arm. Beautifully sculpted, still could use some highlights, but I don't mind how this looks. It's articulated at 2 points in each claw, and can actually spin. Studio Series could never. You can hinge each claws back to replicate his arm cannon look, but that's very sloppy looking. Luckily, you do get a cannon arm attachment. Pop this off, plug this in, and bam, I love it. This port is 3mm compatible, so have fun with what you got. And each of these claws are on hinge joints still, so if you want to, you can create a stop motion transition thing, which is highly appreciated. And last but not least, you get these two interchangeable face plates. One's normal and one is battle damage. Now you can also separate the crest from his face, but the connection is scarily tight. I highly recommend you being careful with this. And now we have Scourge with a gaping hole in his forehead, and I don't really like that. There's an American joke to be made here somewhere, but I'm not gonna go through with it. Which is why you even get a swappable face in the first place, you idiot. This looks great. Looks very accurate to how he looks at the end of the film. Not a ton of accessories, but you get more than enough to have an absolute blast with him. The figure itself is also a blast to look at, not my best segue. But I mean, just look at all the details on display here. He looks straight out of the movie. It's insane. My camera quality is not doing this thing justice. You have to see it in person to truly appreciate the amount of sculpted details that he has. And the paint is good, but again, this is a model kit, so if you want the best effects, better to take a crack at it yourself. Some of my favorite design aspects, such as these smokestacks, the truck cap chest, and his human-like spinal column are expertly etched into this beautiful figure. I also really like his shoulder pads, a definite improvement over his Studio Series concept shoulder pads. Another improvement can be seen in this head sculpt. Got that Surtur-esque faceplate decked out in a very lush silver paint, looking really nice. And it's a little hard to see, but he actually has some teeth sculpted in his mouth, which can open to reveal some more sculpted details inside. Really nice. And I'm sure some of you are into that. Yolopark truly maximized, pun intended, aspects of this figure which would normally be compromised in a transforming toy. His sculpt, paint, kind of, and his articulation. So posability on this guy is unquestionably amazing. Ball joints at the head and the neck give you an incredible range. Can't look up too far though, but that's fine. These shoulder thingies can move out of the way to activate the ball joints at the base of his shoulder. Can rotate full 360. That happened. These shoulder armor bits are like my biggest issue with this figure. Pop off so damn easily. I honestly suggest just gluing them in. Because of this ball joint construction, you get a slight butterfly joint and a slight up and down movement. Shoulder pad is on a ball joint and can get out of the way for the actual outward movement at the shoulder. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that bend all the way. Already covered this. And for his normal hand, very loose ball joint at the wrist. And you get a hinge joint at the thumb. And you get a hinge joint, and another hinge joint for the rest of his 3 fingers. Kinda wish the thumb can also go in and out, but that's fine. Chest can pivot side to side, crunch forward a little bit, back a lot more so. There is a slight swivel here, but the true swivel is at the waist. The hips are on a drop down hinge joint system, so if you pull the leg down like so, bam! What a range. The same goes for the back movement. And of course with this fully extended you can do the splits. Legs do get a bit wobbly, but it's nothing too terrible. Overall he feels solid. Thigh rotation. Knees only bend this far. Oh, wait a minute. And watching this real piston in action is so satisfying. My right knee is a bit loose though, so be wary of that. And finally for the ankles, the back and front ankle guards can move out of the way to allow a maximum range of going down, moving up, side to side rotation, a pivot, and even a slight bend at the toe. That was some posability. Couple that with his fairly solid nature, and his accessories will make for a cool strike a pose segment. Man, this is such a great figure to pose. Another thing I would like to express in this review is the amount of value that you get with this figure. For example, here's a $50 Green Goblin next to this $30 Scourge. Now, as I've said in my review, I really like this thing. He looks good, comes with a nifty glider, but it feels like shit. This figure, on the other hand, looks amazing, feels good, and is a lot cheaper. Not to knock this figure down because it's still a good figure and I recommend it if you're a Spider-Man fan. But it just goes to show how much you're getting with this relatively cheap figure. And if you haven't gotten it by now, he's pretty damn big. Especially Comparisons. Here's Scourge next to Studio Series Rise of the Beast Bumblebee, Rise of the Beast Cheetor, Rhinox, Freezer, which I like to put on Scourge's shoulders, Studio Series Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime, comparing him to a regular 6-inch scale figure, we have the Marvel Legends Mr. Knight, and finally, another Terracon Battle Trap. Gosh, this display looks so cool. Now I just need Nightbird and this Scorponok to complete this collection. Ooh. Before I end this review, there's actually a fan note that I like to show. And here's his... And there goes my review for the Yolopark AMK SCOURGE figure. If you need your Transformers to transform, do not get this. This is not for you. This is for people who just want a good-looking robot mode Scourge that's movie accurate and highly posable. And it achieves that goal incredibly well. I highly recommend this figure if you're a part of that particular audience. It is so worth your money, but if you want a transforming Scourge figure, then the Studio Series release is still not a bad option at all, and I suggest you to get that instead. To get it straight, I truly think both figures have their places in the action figure market, and we don't have to fight about which one should and should not exist. But for my money, I like this one a lot more. Just a matter of taste, really. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, feel free to leave a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys next time. Very hyped for this. Definitely getting its own review, and stay tuned. It's time.